guys, welcome back to My Bookish World. I don't know what keeps happening to the lighting. Literally every single time I turn it to record, it looks fine, and then it just gets bright. So yeah, I had to turn that light back on. Anyway, today I'm going to be doing my February wrap-up. So this is where I talk about all the books that I finished in February, and I finished 7 books in February, or not 7, 9 books in February. I still don't know how I did it, but like, let me see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 of them were for school, so that's probably how. Which, yeah, I said I was going to read 4 books for myself, plus the book that I was already reading in February, but I'll talk about that in another video coming up. I have a recent DNF video that I need to film. Not very excited about it. But yeah, let's just talk about the books that I read. So the first book that I finished in February was Patron Saints of Nothing by Randy Rebay. This is about a boy, This is about a boy named Jay who is Filipino American, and he finds out that his cousin has died, and it's kind of mysterious and nobody's really telling him exactly what happened. So he decides that he wants to take a trip to the Philippines to visit his family and try to get undercover. I'm sorry, my dog is chewing her bone right next to me. It's gross. Hey, Sadie. Sadie! Sadie! No, she's not gonna stop. Sorry about that noise. Also, there's like a beeping sound in the back. It's fine. It's just my home alarm panel being kind of annoying. We got a lot of noises today. Basically, Jay goes to the Philippines to find out more about how his brother or his cousin died and try to get undercover. Because of this, we are really thrust into what is happening in the Philippines, which is this war on drugs that's still going on. This book, I mean, I think it said it started in 2016. This book was published in 2019, so it's still very relevant, and it's very, honestly, like, it's an important read, and I really recommend you guys read it. I didn't know anything about this, but once I kind of just started looking, I realized, you know, that there's a lot that sometimes we just don't know about what's going on in the world around us because people don't say it. And the next book that I finished was Clockwork Princess. By the way, I gave Patron Saints of Nothing no rating since it was a school book, although I've kind of abandoned that. But yeah, anyway, I also finished Clockwork Princess by Cassandra Clare. This is the 3rd book in the Infernal Devices trilogy, and I gave this 5 stars. So this book is basically, how do I explain? So this series follows a girl named Tessa who is part warlock and has this, like, she thinks she's part warlock, she doesn't really know. She meets these shadow hunters and goes to live with them while she is trying to find out the mystery of who took her brother, what happened to her parents, who her parents really are, who she really is, and all that, all the while falling in love. And it's just a wonderful story. And I didn't cry at the epilogue, but I definitely got a little teary-eyed, and this book was very great, so I gave it 5 stars. The next book that I read was Pet by, okay, I don't know how to pronounce her name. I think it's Akwaeke Emezi. I probably mispronounced that so badly, but they are a non-binary, I believe trans, although maybe not, but I know they're a non-binary author. And if you actually look at there was a story done by Elle USA, the magazine, where Andrew Thomas, Elizabeth Acevedo, Tony Adeyemi, Nick Stone, and this author were all in it talking about their influence on the young adult age range. And so it was really cool to see that at the same time I was reading this book. But basically, this book is kind of like in a dystopian, utopian world. And it follows this girl named Jam who is transgender. And she is, like, she lives in this perfect world where all the bad guys, all the monsters have been disposed of. And basically, she awakens this thing that she calls Pet, who is there to get rid of a monster that has infiltrated their world. And it's just such a beautiful story, and I really think that everybody should read it. It just came out in 2019, so I don't know how this unique story has not been all over the internet, but seriously, I will link the Goodreads below because it's just wonderful. It's so eye-opening. We had so many great discussions in my class about it, for my young adult literature class. So I just really recommend it. Read it, please. The next book that I finished was The Hunger Games by Suzanne Collins. I'm not going to go into an explanation of what this is about because if you don't know what The Hunger Games is about, where have you been? Basically this book, well, I just said I wasn't going to explain it. Anyway, I've been doing a reread of this series, so I just started with The Hunger Games. I'm going to be reading Catching Fire in March because the prequel to this series comes out in May. I'm very excited about it. I gave this book 4 stars. What I realized was this book was not as good as, the writing was not as great as I thought it was in middle school. Like, I haven't read this since, like, middle school. That doesn't say that I didn't love the story, didn't love the characters, just the writing was not so complex anymore, and I think that's part of the reason that I just was not as much of a fan of it. I still really enjoyed it, but like I said, only gave it 4 stars. The next book that I finished for my adolescent literature class was The Hate U Give by Angie Thomas. This was a reread for me, and I was so excited when I literally screamed when I saw this on my reading list. I gave this 5 stars. By the way, I gave Pet no rating. I said that I was not going to give any of my school books any more ratings, but like, this book deserves a 5-star rating no matter what. So I did that, and I loved it so much. This book basically follows a girl named Star Carter who witnesses her best friend getting shot by the police, and there's a whole investigation, and she gets pulled into the crossfires of all that's happening. And seriously, one of the best books I've ever read, inspired so many great conversations in my class, and I loved reading it. It was so fun to read it. It's such a fast read, even though it's like 400 pages, and I had to read this in less than a week. I loved every moment of it, and I really recommend it. I need to rewatch the movie, because of course I do, I just read the book. But yeah, 5 stars all around. I don't think it will ever not be 5 stars. The next book I also read for class, which was for a book talk. I had to just talk about this book and recommend it to people. But this was also a reread, and that was Bloodwater Paint by Joy McCullough. This is a historical fiction novel that follows a girl named, what's her name? Artemisia Gentileschi from Rome 1610, who is a real person, and she was a painter in this time period, one of the most renowned painters even at 17, and when she is 17 she gets raped, and so she has this decision to decide to go public with it or decide if she's going to keep that to herself, because if she goes public with it, obviously she could get backlash, it could be harder to find a husband for her, all that kind of stuff, and kind of the same thing that women, I would say, would face today in our world, which, even though this happened back in 1610, this story is so wonderfully amazing and just feminist power, women power. I loved it so much. Like, this book makes me tear up every single time I read it. And by the way, I gave it 5 stars even though it was for school. Because it's just so poetic and lovely, and it's so important to the things that are still going on in our world today. And I just think everybody should read it. And, like, I have a few tabs in here from, like, her dad, of, like, just different lines. Let me see. I don't even know if I can find some of the spots. Like, one of it is, like, why, though, does it take a mother, daughter, sister for men to take a woman at her word? And, like, I love this book with all my heart. If you have not read this, read it. Bloodwater Paint is magical. And then, what else? I finished Speak by Laurie Halse Anderson. I gave this 4 stars. This was also a reread for me. This was for my adolescent literature class. This also inspired a lot of great conversations. Probably not as great as with Pet, The Hate U Give, but it still did a lot of really great conversations, and I loved rereading the story. I gave it 4 stars because it is a reread, and yeah, and I loved that I was able to look at it in a new light while I was discussing it. But yeah, I don't feel like I really need to go into this because I think I read this book like every year, but I loved it. Check it out. Basically, by the way, trigger warning for rape and sexual assault in this one, as well as trigger warning for rape and sexual assault in Speak. The story follows a girl named Melinda who, before she started her freshman year, she was raped at a party and she called the cops, and now nobody is talking to her at school. She really doesn't know what to do. She doesn't want to tell anybody because she doesn't want it to hit her in the back, and she's just really struggling, and it's really about her finding her voice and learning to speak up for herself, and I adore it so much. The next book that I read was a book that I wanted to read, maybe, and it was Black Enough, which is a collection of short stories by Ibi Zoboi, featuring stories from authors like Justina Ireland, Danielle Clayton, Jason Reynolds, Nick Stone, Ray Watson, Brittany Colbert, Jay Coles, Ibi Zoboi as well, and these stories were wonderful. I am actually going to be unhauling this book, not because I didn't enjoy it, and because I don't think I think these stories are so important. The context of these stories are so important. This book basically talks about stories of being young and Black in America, and these are all Black authors from different points of view, from different religions, from different backgrounds, from different sexualities, and it's just wonderful to see because I think this is a story that people need in their lives, because it's one of those stories where you can see, it's one of those books where you can see yourself somewhere in here, and everybody deserves to see themselves in media. So I'm going to be unhauling this book and placing it in a little free library because I think that it should be passed on and somebody else should be reading this. And then the last book, by the way, I gave this one 3 stars, which is just kind of an average rating for me. The stories were good, but it wasn't my absolute favorite thing, and it's hard to rate it just with a lot of short stories, so 3 stars. And then the last thing I read was also for class, and that was Prince and the Dressmaker by Jen Wang, which is a graphic novel about a prince of Belgium, I believe, who likes to wear dresses and hires this dressmaker to make dresses for him so he can go out, be undiscovered, and it's such a beautiful story. I cried, I teared up, and personally I think this is such a great book for students to read, and I'm so excited to discuss this in my class. I haven't gotten to discuss it yet because it's the Monday before my class. But I'm just so excited about it. I absolutely adored this book. I didn't give it a rating because I'm back to giving books that I've never read for school a rating, but I really recommend this. Honestly, I might just change it to 5 stars because it's so cute. And it's a wonderful story. So that's it for the 9 books that I finished in the month of February. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you guys next time. Bye!